guys, what's cracking? Somebody give me a 5 for 5, and we will go with this. This will not be a very long one. There's things to talk about here, but just want to bring this stuff to your attention. And I hope everybody had a great weekend. Thank you to all my mods. I seen Ilea in there. Hey, Kathy, good to see you. Trish, good to see you. Piper Lynn, what's up? Man Girl. Jeremy, what's happening? Virginia's in the house. Anita Fetters, good to see you. Dr. Fatbird, like the name. Good to see you. Opposite's here. Heck yeah. Okay, guys. Let's go ahead, and if we're 5 for 5, we'll get going. All right. So I will not be looking at the chat until I get through this, and then I'll talk to you guys in a minute. So yeah, let's just do it. All right. So got you guys over here at SDO, and what we're looking at is a filtered version of the sun. And obviously, you're probably going to hear that a lot with the eclipse coming. There's a whole different kind of filter you can use. This is a just a filter that they put on there so we can see a specific gas. This is from our perspective. The satellite is there, and it's as if you walked outside and looked at the sun. So looked up. It's in geosynchronistic orbit. I'm not going to go too much more into that right now, but it is from our perspective. This coronal hole, and I was actually talking about this about 3 days ago. It was actually kind of thin, but it was stretching almost the whole length of the sun. And it looked like it was growing, and it did. Not only did it grow a little bit long ways, it actually opened up some too. So you can definitely see that's the surface of the sun right there. The atmosphere peels back and then exposes the surface. So when the surface is exposed, highly charged particles, plasma, can just flow out. And it gets here on a magnetic connection line. They call that a coronal hole stream. It's increased solar wind, basically. And it gets increased because the corona of the sun, the atmosphere, peels back and it allows that stuff to escape. Now, sometimes we get geomagnetic storms with that, sometimes we don't. This is what we call the Earth strike zone, kind of right here in the middle. It does look like a strike zone box, like if you know anything about baseball. It's not square. It's more of a rectangle. Okay? So with that being said, this is crossing right across that. And anything that does come from this will most definitely probably hit us. And that's what they're forecasting as of right now. So that's why the geomagnetic storm is there, and we will probably enter one. Now, what's that going to mean? Right now, they're only anticipating low-level geomagnetic storms. Okay? Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. But yeah, so I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. My puppy dog here was doing some crazy stuff. But they're only expecting like G1 level storms. And the reason why they're thinking this is going to kind of glance Earth instead of hitting us directly on. Now, all that's up to change, okay? And the reason why is it depends on how long we stay connected to this, okay? And it does look like it's opening up more and more. So we could, this could be a multi-day event. And I hesitate to really call it like, quote unquote, an event, like it's something big happening. This is something that happens quite often. Obviously, we've talked about that a lot here on the channel. But let me just say that I do think that this has a good chance of giving us a good, nice little increase in solar wind. So let me take you guys up here to the Discover data. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time showing you a graph. I think it's boring. But it's important to understand what we're looking at, right? This solar wind data. We look for -6 on the BZ. That is our magnetic polarity, the direction of it. the positioning, and we look for of our magnetic field, okay? So we look for -6 on the BZ, right? It's called the BZ. Whenever it gets to -6, it kind of highlights this area here like in like a purple or a blue color, depending on what your display looks like. But it'll do that. Right now, nothing going on, okay? But I will say that things are fluctuating quite a bit. And what I mean by that, you see, if you look here on the density, now it's kind of almost a straight line. And each time it takes a reading, it puts a dot, okay? So when you see a straight line, it's nothing more than a series of dots really close to the same level as the dot prior. So it looks like a straight line, like up here on the black, on the BT, okay? But this is the density. So when you start seeing more of a straight line, things are kind of stable. Things aren't fluctuating a whole lot. But right here, you can see how everything started fluctuating. So that probably means we experienced some sort of space weather. I'm not going to be able to point you to exactly what happened here. It did not give us any kind of geomagnetic storming, at least as of yet. Matter of fact, the density dropped and the speed, although it was fluctuating, stayed pretty normal. So without all that being said, and the BZ really didn't get into -6, but just a couple times here on the end. So, you know, that could have been from another coronal hole, a small one. It could have been from a small stealth CME or anything like that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't anything to really even concern anything about. But what I'm saying is things are fluctuating. So we are being, currently influenced by some space weather. And I don't know exactly where that's coming from. But regardless, we're not having any storms. That's what I would say. Okay, so let me take you to the Geomagnetosphere. Geomagnetosphere. The geospace magnetosphere. Okay, so anyway, this is the magnetosphere. Basically, it's our magnetic field. The sun's off to the left, and all the energy coming from the sun hits our magnetic field, right? So you get this bow shock, the first point of contact. What this is showing you is the speed. Why, this is the velocity model. I'm going to scroll down. This is the density. Okay, and white colors are low density. And typically, the lower dense things are, the less hard it hits us. Okay, and then, hey Enigma, good to see you. Thank you for being a top level member there. I really appreciate that. You're my only one currently, so thank you. Really do. But I haven't had a chance to say thank you to you while you were here. Hey, butterfly. Okay, so the velocity, you can see. Now, sometimes, guys, when you look at this thing and it looks like a whole lot's happening, it's kind of deceiving. Because if everything is staying in basically in these yellow colors, it's not fast at all. So it looks more dramatic than what's actually happening, is what I'm trying to say. But, you know, it is showing that it is fluctuating. And that was my point, showing you the graph. Okay? So with that being said, again, it's nothing to write home about, but it is something to be paying attention to. Now, this is the density, right? And again, this is the density of the particles that's hanging around. And again, you can kind of see a bow shock out here. That bow shock will look like it disappears sometimes, and it doesn't disappear. Either it's way out here in front past where the model can show it, or the density is the same on both sides of the bow shock. If that's the case, it's going to look like it's not there. So don't let somebody tell you the bow shock's down. That's not happening, okay? The only way that happens is if the sun's not there or our magnetic field is gone. And like I said 1,000 times, that's a really bad day for everybody on planet Earth, okay? If either one of those happen. So, yeah. And again, I wouldn't be able to come out here and tell you that it happened probably, because things would be just that dramatic, if you get what I'm saying. So, go down here, and this is really kind of the the tail of the tail right here, right? This is magnetic pressure. So basically the density and the velocity kind of combine here, and they're trying to show you how much pressure, magnetic pressure, it's adding to our system, okay, around us. This is very, very minimal. This is not a whole lot, and that was my whole point. But I look for all of this to change, probably around late in the day on the 3rd, 4th, maybe into the 5th. I'm not really sure exactly on the timing yet. I think a lot of people are talking about like the 4th sometime when this geomagnetic storm will hit. But it is coming from this coronal hole. And this coronal hole has been here for days. It's rotating through. I actually talked about it. But also, remember the eruption I showed you guys up here? And it's still showing on this model run right here. Let me zoom in. You'll see the corona kind of get distorted and move. So we'll watch it here one time, and we'll take a look at it here. But you're going to see it's pretty obvious right about there. See that? So that was just one of the eruptions. The sun's not stopping erupting, okay? And I have to stress that, because just because I'm not here telling you we're getting some big, humongous geomagnetic storm from a massive solar flare or CME doesn't mean that the sun has stopped doing what the sun does, okay? Because it absolutely is. Right now, it seems to be in a little bit more of a stable, quiet pattern, but that's not going to hold, okay? I'm just going to tell you that. That can change with the snap of a finger. The sun can do what it wants, when it wants, how it wants to do it. And I know I've said that 1,000 times, but I'll probably say it 1,000 times again. So if we go down here and we look at the 94 angstrom, again, it's just another filter. We can't see that part of the light spectrum with our eyes. So they assign a color to it, and they're able to show us that specific gas that they're looking at. And you can see the kind of bright regions that kind of fire up here all over the place, right? Now, again, none of that's really coming at Earth. Now, we did have that big, we had a good-sized flare, almost an X-flare over here. And it did produce a CME. It just wasn't a very large one. And that's the one I said could have gave us a radiation storm. And I've already reported on this, but it did not. And I didn't think it was going to, because after the fact, it had been 6 to 8 hours, and we were not seeing any increase at all in protons. And that's what we look for here on the solar proton flux. So everything stayed quiet that way. So all that means is either it didn't have a whole lot of dense protons. Hey, thanks, Aaron, for the gifted memberships. Appreciate that, buddy. Good to see you. Hey, Heather Joy, good to see you. I'll talk to you guys here in just a second. But, yeah, so we didn't get that radiation storm, right? And I didn't think we would. I think I already told you guys that in my last stream on Saturday. But, again, all that stuff, everything I just said can change in like 2 seconds. And I seen a comment earlier before I actually went live. It was during the little pre-stream graphics I show you and the little music that's with it. Kind of that slow jazz feel, just to kind of keep people calm and stuff like that. I chose that for that reason. I didn't want it to be like all intense and everything. My old intro, guys, just so you guys know, I can't use that ever again. And it sucks. I really wish I could use it on sometimes anyway. But that music is now copyrighted, and I can't use it. They won't let me use it. So, with that being, it wasn't copyrighted for like 4 years. And then they copyrighted it, and it's like, okay, whatever. But anyway, that's why. If you guys are ever wondering why that old intro went away, that's why. So, but I do like the new stuff that I've done here. I've kind of kept it a little bit, especially like the Wages World one, where just like my outro is the same as my intro there. It's like a 30-second thing. I don't even think it's 30 seconds. It's close to it, but it's not very long, and that, I don't want to make it real long. So, But anyway, I also want to point out, guys, we did have an M-class flare. It was substantial enough. It gave us R1 radio blackouts. Okay, it almost got to R2 level, but it wasn't nothing extreme. And again, guys, none of that's extreme at the moment. But I have to stress, the sun does this. Okay, we expect it to be busy in certain times and not so busy in others. But I also want to say this. When we're not expecting it, that's when things seem to go left, if you know what I mean. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. We just want to stay aware, okay? Now, I do think that if we do get that solar wind stream, we will almost absolutely get an increase in aurora. I know Ilea was in here. She's awesome with the aurora. She loves that stuff just like me. She's actually sent me a few links of some of the websites you can go to. You can actually watch live aurora. There's live streams of it. That's all they do. They just show aurora. So, yeah, it's cool stuff. And it's on my bucket list. I've never seen it with my own eyes. And I want to see it. So, you know, obviously we've all seen pictures, but it's not the same. I had somebody explain it to me the other day. You know, it's like almost like a planetarium. Can't remember who told me that, who said that to me. Oh, okay. Now, I was at the car lot, and one of the guys in there was talking to me, and he said it's like being in a planetarium looking up, right? Everything just kind of engulfing you around you. It's a whole different experience than looking at it on a screen. And I want to do that, you know? Eventually, maybe one day I will. Hopefully. Before I check out of this life. Who knows, though? You just never know, right? But, again, with all that being said, this is the geoelectric field model. Guys, I know people have been showing this a lot. I've been showing it for over 6 months with the updated Canadian part here. This Canadian part was added months ago. And I've shown it for so many streams. I'm showing it almost every stream there for a while, and I still show it often because it's significant. This is the one that they're using to kind of help bridge a gap between space weather and earthquake forecasting. That's why these two agencies are working together along with the National Resource of Canada. That's why, you know, it's fortunate that we get to even access this stuff. And it is a newer model, so they were tweaking it, right? So that, you know, this model's actually been here for a couple years, but the Canadian part was just added, and this was just, it was very incomplete. In other words, there were parts of this that were blocked out, like this. They couldn't get any data there, so they, you know, I don't know, I'm not sure what they all had to do. Probably getting ground stations and taking, you know, correct data readings. So that's what it would take to be able to get this model to work, right? You know, in at least the correct way. But I do think that I'm glad that everybody's talking about this now, because this is a direct relation of space weather's effect on our unnatural electrical components. Essentially, if you go down to the bottom here and you read it, that's what it's showing you. It tells you right here. Hazard to man-made conductors such as electrical power lines, but it's as a result of geomagnetic activity, right? So it's a good way to see where it's concentrated when we get these big bursts, right? And I think that Ben over at Suspicious Observer actually touched on this a little bit in one of his recent videos, and I 100% agree. Not that it matters if I agree or not. He's way above my pay level. I'll just put it to you that way. But let me just say this, that when we see like, everybody talks about grid down, right? I mean, everybody, grid down. We're all scared about that, right? And we don't need to be scared, number one. That's the first thing I would say. No fear. Be aware. Just look around. Pay attention to what's going on. Try to understand what's going on. And a lot of that fear goes immediately away. The fear of the unknown is the worst. So if we're aware, then it's not unknown, right? But he talks about, he talked about, you know, in that kind of a situation, it doesn't have to be, or even not even likely to be, everything goes out at once. It's most likely going to be a single or just an area, a region that gets hit really, really hard with that, and some of those components get destroyed, and it's like a domino effect. And that's how it all goes down. Okay? Yes, if you get like the big blast from the sun, like a super flare or even a micronova, if that's even a consideration for people. I don't know enough about a micronova to have an opinion on that. I know a lot of people talk about them. I will say that. I know what it is. I just don't have an opinion on it. But with that being said, regardless, those kinds of things, yes. Those, if that was to hit us, most definitely the power's done. You're done. I mean, the power's gone. At least for a period of time. So that's what I would say to that. Now, hold on one second here. Oh, goodness. All right. Yeah, you did the right thing there, Mrs. Angel. Yeah, I agree with that one for sure. We don't call names here, people. Okay? Just so you know. That's a quick way to get right up out the chat. You call anybody a name, that's not even a warning. That is a complete, just immediate ban. We don't put up with that. So, just so you know, I put up a lot of stuff. Everybody's allowed to have their opinions no matter how crazy the rest of the chat thinks it is. Doesn't matter. You're allowed to voice your opinion as long as it's respectful. But you go calling somebody out of their name, I promise you, you won't be here. I hate to say it like that, but sometimes that's just what it is. And I trust my mods. When they make mistakes, they actually tell me they made a mistake. Okay? And I know that that's kind of odd for a lot of people to understand, but that's the kind of relationship we have here. So just be respectful, and you can say whatever you want in that chat. Nobody's going to mess with you. Call somebody a name. I guess you might want to just hit the big red X in the corner and maybe go watch something different. But anyway, and I typically don't even give that kind of attention to stuff like that because it doesn't even deserve it, in my opinion. I got more of my attention there than I would have normally given. I think most people know that. So if we go over here to Dr. Tony Phillips' website, spaceweather.com, again, he always is on top of it. He really is. Actually, he's talking about the geomagnetic storm too. See, and he's saying April 4th. I guess that's probably the official forecast. But that's what's up. So I think we might be getting that geomagnetic storm. He's also been showing this a lot too, guys. So please go over here and show him some love. His channel's in my awesome channel. Well, no, it's not, because it's not a channel. This is a web page. So, but his web page is in my description box. Or just simply type in spaceweather.com. You'll find it real easy. But he's been showing sunspots from Mars. We got the Mars rover up there, and it's sending back captures of sunspots. Basically, it's the backside of the sun. We can't see it. So it's kind of cool to have that right now. That's all going to change as Mars orbits and stuff, okay? And we do too. So it's going to change slowly, but it'll change. So, but check over here. He reports on this a lot. He also does a really cool thing down here. These are near-Earth objects, basically meteorites, small asteroids that are near misses, okay? Now, near miss in space talk is a long way, okay, to what you would consider. So they measure this in lunar distance, the distance between us and the moon. So when you see it say 10.1, you have to go to the moon 10.1 times to see that one. That's how close that one came. They call that a near miss, guys. It's a near Earth object, or I think that's what they call it, NEOs. Yeah, near Earth object. So, but every once in a while you'll come over here and you'll see it say 0.0. Now don't freak out when that happens. Okay? All that means is that it's inside of a 0.1. Okay? That's all it means. Now, most of the time, you're going to see, because when they name these things, they always put the year out in the front when they discovered it. If you look at these, the majority of these, are going to say, I don't even know what happened there. I must have clicked that. Are going to say the current year. You know, that's just what it is. But yeah, so come over here and check this out. It's really cool because, you know, there are times, there's actually been a couple that have impacted us. You know, they were small, but they made it through. And most of them just skip on through. And sometimes they'll post these and they won't discover it until it's actually past us. So, and a lot of times when that's happening also, come over here and look at the size of it. They're typically small when we miss them completely. Okay? The bigger ones are obviously, for obvious reasons, are easier to see. But, you know, robbing a line from the show Armageddon from Rockhound, what'd he say? Billy Bob Thornton said it was, he said, begging your pardon, Mr. President, but it's a big-ass sky. That's what the line was in the movie. So, I mean, and that's so true. I mean, you can't expect to see everything, guys. It's such a big thing to try to undertake. And they're just now making decent efforts at this. And it's going to continue to get better. The more data we get, the better we get at it. And that's just what happens. We haven't been recording these things very long, historically at all. So I just wanted to point that out because I don't show that as often as probably I should, just to give everybody an idea of what's going on. Now, if we have one that they're talking about coming really, really close and it's big and they know it's coming, I'll probably at least speak about it. But for the most part, most of that stuff is going to miss us. If it doesn't miss us, 99, I don't even want to put a percentage on it, I guess. But a lot of that stuff just gets burned up before it even hits the ground. Okay? It'll be a shooting star across the sky. Sometimes a big, gigantic fireball. And he also reports here too, guys, on fireball reports. We've had 2 fireballs reported on the 1st. That's very, very low activity, by the way. So when we start getting into the meteor shower season, that's all going to increase. It does every time. Earth starts passing through those comet tails from the past comets that came by before us, and that debris left, and we pass through it when we orbit the sun. Very, very consecutively, we predict it. It's forecastable. We know when it's going to happen. But all those reports start to happen, and you'll come over here, and it'll say like 200 fireballs reported. It's nothing more than a shooting star, okay? For most of them, anyway. And you'll also, when we're going through a meteor shower, this here, you're going to see this get very, very busy. Because there's going to be a bunch that they didn't see. Okay? So, I would say that. So, always keep that in mind. If we're in a meteor shower, I don't put as much weight into it. If we're not in a meteor shower and we see something odd happen, that's when I really look at it. Okay? So, just understand that. And I think that's probably good advice for everybody to do. Okay. So, this is seeds. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. This is Soho. It's from, again, our perspective. This is just about 1 million miles closer to the sun than what we are, but it is from our viewpoint. These are coronagraphs, and I show these a lot. This is today. Guys, there is very, very little stuff happening on our side of the sun. Some of these are off the backside. But notice, the sun is still erupting, and I just want to make sure you guys understand that. So, we're going to keep an eye on stuff as it's going. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. I told you guys we're going to keep it kind of quick today, and that's what we're doing. But I know 30 minutes might not be quick for some people, but for us, it kind of is. Hey, Hilly. So that's the space weather. Now, I think I did. Let me know how I did in the chat, guys, if I kept all the space weather at the beginning like I've been trying to tell you guys I was going to do. I'm going to follow through with that. Also, Aaron and Enigma and 5G, Deep Quake Paul. Guys, all those gifted memberships you've been doing are so appreciated. And I know everybody that got those has already said thanks. But I want to say thanks again. And anybody else who's gifted memberships. I think Full of Hope did too. And other people have also. But I just want you guys to understand that those are so appreciated. And I am going to be doing a members-only live stream this week. I'm not sure what day yet. I'll probably, hey butterfly, I'll probably try to do it on what I think is going to be kind of a slow day. It's kind of hard to do that, but I want to give you guys, what I'm saying is, please turn on your notification bell if you're a member. Also, when the gifted memberships are put out, you have to actually turn on to accept those gifts, okay? I've only had one that didn't know how to do that, so I think that money gets refunded back to that account. If that doesn't happen, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if that's actually how it works. I don't have any control over any of that, okay? So just know that. But I will be doing a members only, so good one, Hilly. I remember those jackets. Hey, you weren't cool in high school unless you had a members only jacket. I remember those days. Hey, I come from the era where I used to wear button-fly Guess jeans, peg-legged, and bum sweatshirts inside out. That was what was cool in my day. Oh, and don't forget that, you know, any girlfriend you had to have a hair hit the ceiling, and hair everywhere. Just saying. But yeah. So, guys, if you ain't got no questions, I am going to pop off. And if anything happens big, anything changes, I will be here. You guys know that. No matter what day it is, I don't care if it's Christmas night. If something big is happening, I'm going to come on for a short little show. So, anyway, guys, God bless. And look for members. Please turn your notification bells on. Anybody, everybody, please turn your notification bells on. Hit all notifications. Please share this out. I mean, the channel's growing, and I want to kind of continue that. We're at 59 and 59,000 over 300 now. I've not been that high ever. So just understand that. I got 59.2 about 6 months ago, and then I couldn't put out as much content, so my numbers kind of dropped off. You guys hear my dog whining? My wife just got home. Anyway, guys, God bless. Yahushua saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.